Hello, everyone, and here we have a new story. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics in the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listen to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail. Broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published once every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now let's go. Hello, I want to share my story. I'm 25 years old. My wife is 20. 3 years old. We got married when my wife was 21 and I was 23. A year later, our daughter was born. After giving birth, after a while, the wife seemed to have been replaced. My wife started ignoring me. Hell reigned at home. My wife didn't cook. Well, at least I was glad she was feeding our baby. I was trying to find out if everything was okay with my wife. She just kept quiet and didn't answer me. Very rarely she answered me. When I asked the question, "Where's our dinner?" My wife advised me to order something at the delivery myself. One day I'll come home. I go into the house, and there's no one there. I started calling my wife's mobile phone, but her mobile phone was turned off. My wife returned at 3 a.m. The wife was cheerful and drunk. To the question, "Where is our child?" she replied that she had taken her daughter to her mother. I asked my wife the rest of the questions. I didn't get any answers. It all started from that day. 4 times a week, my wife disappeared and returned home in the morning. My daughter was constantly staying with my wife's mother. I didn't understand what was going on, and eventually, I got tired of it all. I made a big scandal with my wife. I told my wife that it can't go on like this anymore, that I will no longer give money to my wife. But even when I stopped giving money to my wife, she still disappeared at night. Then, I issued an ultimatum. Or we sit down and solve the problem in a human way. This is a serious conversation. Or we'll just get divorced. My wife agreed to a serious conversation. But she also issued an ultimatum. "We'll talk next week," she said. One fine morning, I was leaving for work and took both sets of house keys. Do you think that stopped my wife? Of course not. In the evening, when I returned from work, I found a broken door lock. The door to my house was unlocked. There was a hammer on the doorstep. I was shocked. But this time, I have already made a decision. My decision was to divorce my wife. My wife returned 2 days later. My wife immediately offered to discuss this situation. She told me that day she was walking down the street with a stroller. My wife met her first love, that her feelings had clouded her mind. She felt the spark again, that she loves this man more than her life. She is ready to do anything to be with this man together. I stood there in disbelief. My head was full of bad thoughts. I asked my wife, "What about our daughter?" My wife replied that it was my daughter, that my wife doesn't need a child. I can keep the baby for myself. These words made my legs give way. I was shocked. My wife kept talking, that she wants to have a baby with her loved one. Then she will love this child, and I will educate him. Well, to be honest, I don't even know what to say here. Maybe you can write to me in the comments. Is this normal or not? The wife packed her things and left. I won't tell you in detail what I had to go through. I don't want to wish it even on the enemy. If it wasn't for my mother-in-law, I couldn't raise a child alone. I worked hard to feed, to clothe my daughter. I filed for divorce. My wife did not appear in court. Time passed. So the 1st of September came. I picked up my daughter from school. My daughter was pleased. She's a very beautiful and smart girl. My daughter grew up and went to school. I was so happy for her. But in the evening of that day, a surprise awaited us both. We had dinner together and watched a TV show. Our doorbell rang. I went over and opened the door. I was just stunned. My ex-wife was standing on my doorstep. She looked like a homeless person. My wife had bruises under her eyes and she smelled of alcohol. I asked why she came. My wife told me she had come to pick up her daughter. My daughter was looking at her from behind my back in fright. He asks, "Who is this aunt? What does she need?" After my daughter's words, my ex-wife had a tantrum. My wife screamed that I had turned the child against her. My wife threatened to go to court and take my daughter away from me. I told her she could sue. Naturally, in the morning, my ex-wife sobered up and did not go to any court. Her visits to my house did not end there. Just like that time, she came again and demanded money from me. My wife demanded $3,000. I lent her this amount, but I asked her to write a receipt. It didn't end there. 3 weeks later, my ex-wife returned. My wife asked me for money again. This time, the amount was insignificant. But it happened again. She wrote a receipt, and I gave her the money. In general, it didn't end there. Time passed, and my ex-wife came 7 more times. I'm very tired of it. I told my wife I wouldn't give her any more money, that she could go to court if she wanted to. This time, my wife went to court. In court, my wife's mother defended me. My lawyer submitted the documents to the court that I've been raising my daughter alone for the last 7 years. My daughter didn't want to live with her mom in any way. My daughter didn't even want to get close to my ex-wife. While the trial was going on in court, my daughter was sitting on my lap. My daughter refused to even approach her grandmother. When my daughter was asked who she would like to live with, she firmly answered, along with Dad and Grandma. It took another 10 years. We moved into a new house. We lived in the new house for almost a year. My daughter went to her friend's house for the weekend. Front doorbell rang. I go and open the door. A decently dressed girl is standing on the threshold with a cake in her hands. I recognize this girl as my ex-wife. I let her into the house and out of politeness offered her tea. We started a dialogue. My ex-wife didn't tell me why she drank so much, but she said she had crossed that stage out of her life. My wife told me shocking things. This is after the trial, as soon as we divorced. My wife's lover started selling her for a bottle of alcohol. One day, my wife's lover got very drunk, fell down the stairs and died. The wife was kicked out of her lover's apartment. My ex-wife grieved for a while, but then she saw the light. One day, she turned to volunteers. Volunteers helped homeless people. My wife turned to them for help. My wife was helped. She has not consumed alcohol for 8 years. My wife got a job and rents an apartment. She tried to apologize to me, but I told my wife that I forgave her a long time ago. Then my wife said it when her lover died. After that, she went to the hospital. She began to remember her life. She looked at her life from the outside. Now she understands that no one really loved her, except me. She asked me why I was lonely. Why didn't I find a girlfriend? I replied that I didn't have time to look for a girl. My daughter is about to enter the institute. Then I'll start thinking about myself. An hour passed, the daughter came. I left them alone. My daughter and ex-wife sat and talked until morning. In the morning, my ex-wife left. Now the wife sometimes sees her daughter. Sometimes my ex-wife comes to our house. She's not trying to turn her daughter against me. She's also not trying to get our relationship back. I don't interfere in their relationship. To be honest, I feel very sorry for my ex-wife. But there's no turning back. At the moment, I'm dating a very beautiful girl. This girl was the first one who started paying attention to me. Most likely, we will have something serious. I made that clear to my ex-wife. What if she thinks she can cheat on me and come back as if nothing had happened? Then it's not for me. Man, remember one thing, that if the girl left, don't bring her back. Even if the girl came to you herself, as most often happens. Yes, I do not interfere with my daughter's communication with her mother, but this is the maximum that I can afford. All my communication with my ex-wife concerns only my daughter. Over the years, I've done a lot of work on my mistakes. I started to respect myself. I'm very proud of it. And what can you say about this? Write your comment. It will be interesting for me to read them. We will finish with this and move on to the advice of the author of the channel. Channel author's advice. It is obvious that you have gone through a difficult path, and it is commendable that you have coped with the situation with strength and fortitude. Your main concern is your daughter, and it is obvious that you have been a loving and devoted father. Continue to provide her with a stable and supportive environment, as you have done so far. Obviously, you have already forgiven your ex-wife and decided to move forward. This is a healthy approach. Withholding anger and resentment will only burden you. You should focus on your own happiness and your daughter's well-being. Keep open lines of communication with your ex-wife when it comes to your daughter. It is important for her that both parents are involved in her life, even if the dynamics have changed. As you mentioned, you start thinking about your own happiness and meet someone new. This is a positive step. Remember that it's okay to take care of yourself and find happiness in your own life. Your experience has taught you valuable lessons about self-esteem and self-worth. Carry these lessons with you as you move forward in life. Make sure that any future relationship is built on mutual respect and understanding. Rely on your support system, including your family and friends during the passage of this journey. They can provide valuable emotional support and advice. You have shown great resilience, and your positive attitude is refreshing. Keep focusing on your personal growth and happiness. Your story serves as a reminder that sometimes people go through difficult stages in life, but with resilience and a positive attitude, they can become stronger and find happiness. Your commitment to your daughter's well-being and your own personal growth is truly admirable. Keep moving forward, and may your future be filled with happiness and success. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.